This is Austin Real Estate Investing.
Austin Real Estate Investing.
We'll be discussing real estate investing in Austin, Texas, and bringing you experts from all different sectors of the real estate game. Your host, Jordan Moorhead, is a real estate agent and investor in Austin and is here to help you get started or to build your portfolio and explore new strategies.
Hi, this is Jordan Moorhead with the Moorhead team, and this is Austin Real Estate Investing. Today we've got Tony Taveras, the Vice President of Sales and Managing Partner of Linear Roofing, and he's going to tell us all about how Linear Roofing can help real estate investors and just anybody involved in real estate in the Austin area. Hey, Tony, how are you?
What's going on, Jordan? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to see you again, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So real quick, tell everybody who you are and how you were involved with Linear Roofing.
Yeah, I'll try and keep it a little short and sweet here. And
take your time.
Okay, cool. So I can give a little backstory. You okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
That way you guys know where I came from. So yeah, currently my role with Linear Roofing, I am the VP of Sales. I recruit, train, develop, and sustain the culture for what we have now today, which now we're considered the number one, re-roofing company from an insurance perspective in all of Texas. And this is really the mecca for what we do. I mean, it's the hottest area in the country for storm restoration. And we've been in business now right over 7 years, and we are number one. So no small feat. But how did it happen? How did it start? I actually grew up in my family. My parents actually owned one of the largest insurance licensing companies in America growing up. So they built it from the ground up. They left corporate America in New York City. My mom used to be a part of Manette. They built this company called ILSA, and they actually serviced a bunch of big insurance carriers like Chubb, AIG, to help them stay in compliance. So I grew up from my teenage years watching this company grow and watching my parents deal with major insurance carriers. So I knew that it was a great business. Fast forward a couple of years, I actually started my sales career and business career in LA Fitness. I started in sales at about 21 years old. I was at the very bottom of the totem pole, so to speak. And I just started selling personal training. I fell in love with it. I quickly rose through the ranks, became the youngest vice president with LA Fitness at the time at 24. I then was on the acquisition team. So when they would go buy other health club chains like Urban Active, Lifestyle, Family Fitness, I was a part of those acquisitions, helping train those employees as we integrated them. I then became a regional vice president at 26. And I ended up settling my time with LA Fitness off the west coast of Florida, where I ran Tampa all the way down to Naples. Reason why I share that story is because the guy who hired me at LA Fitness, he was an executive partner with them. His name was Kurt Lennington. He came over from South Africa with like $30 to his name and moved up the ranks in LA himself and became a top partner. So he actually hired me. He was my mentor. He created Linear Roofing while we were still in LA Fitness, helping grow that multi-billion-dollar company. He then showed me the model, and this was when I was still a regional VP with LA. And I said, man, I mean, this really makes sense. There's a lot of roofing companies doing this thing wrong. I mean, as we know, back in the day, it was like the wild, wild west. There's no license requirements in Texas. You got a bunch of road companies. You had companies stealing first checks, cutting corners, you name it. So we saw that the industry had a need for a top player to come in and really be about customer service. And that's what we did. So I jumped ship from LA Fitness. I resigned from my regional VP role 7 years ago, came on board to Linear to help grow it, became a managing partner about 4 years in after helping grow it. And now we've scaled it 7 years later. I've been featured on HGTV. I'm on a show called No Demo Reno. I helped sell the show in essence. I actually did the project for the star of the show, Jennifer Todrick. So I actually painted her home, did her roof, did everything. And we beat out a bunch of other roofers and GCs to get on the show. So that's a big accomplishment we're proud of. And now 7 years in, I run all of sales. We have about 150 project managers across the country. We're in Tampa, Orlando, Austin, Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, Lubbock, and we're scaling to many other markets. So that's where we're at now. We're an authority figure in the industry, and we're building a lot of relationships with realtors like yourself, insurance carriers, to really change the game and clean it up.
Yeah, I love that. So I want to backtrack a little bit. You were in LA Fitness for a long time. What attracted you to working in LA Fitness and selling personal training?
Man, I actually came up in playing football. I was big into sports. My goal was to go to the NFL. I actually was recruited by Princeton and Harvard out of high school. My parents,
cool.
Oh yeah. My parents were serious about the books. So, they were not letting me go out. And I actually grew up in a small town called Groesbeck, Texas, out by Waco, small little country town. I mean, our mascot was a goat. So I don't know if you're familiar with pasture parties, but that was a big thing in the country. And my parents, they weren't having any of that. They kept me in the books. They kept me disciplined. Was recruited by Princeton and Harvard out of high school, but I ended up going to North Texas, playing college ball there. Ended up having a really bad injury that ended up stopping my career. And that's where I found LA Fitness. So it was a combination of sports, loving fitness, being heavily involved in theater growing up. I loved acting. So when all that kind of came together at LA Fitness, it was like I could use my acting ability into sales. And I just fell in love with sales. I fell in love with helping people. I fell in love with being on a table and uncovering someone's need and giving them a solution. So that's how LA Fitness came into play. And I fell in love with that side of the business.
Love it. What was the injury that took you out of football, if you don't mind me asking?
Man, it was a hip and pelvis injury.
Oh.
I got cut on a kickoff. I was running down full speed my freshman redshirt year, and someone came out of nowhere and cut me illegally. And I remember after that game, I couldn't barely walk. I mean, for weeks, I was seeing a specialist. I had sharp pains coming up my pelvis. I mean, it just told me it was time to walk away. And my dad always told me I was going to have to be able to use my brain and always have a backup plan besides sports. And he was right.
Smart. Yeah, that's smart.
He was right.
Well, I know everybody can't see this, but you look like you're in pretty good shape, Tony. So it looks like you've not let the injury slow you down.
That's right.
You're pretty into fitness today, right?
That's right. That's right. So the cool thing was after LA Fitness and I came on to Linear to really grow financially, create some financial freedom for my family and for those around me, because we brought on a lot of high level players that I knew in the fitness game that we've got winning in this industry at a great level. So the fitness game really was able to help me move into this. What was the last question you said there, Jordan?
I was just asking, it looks like the injury didn't slow you down at all.
Oh,
so
yes.
You're pretty
yes.
involved in fitness today.
Yes. So when I was able to come into Linear, it actually gave me more freedom to do what I loved in fitness. And that's when I actually decided to start bodybuilding. I actually started to compete in bodybuilding when I came into the roofing industry.
Nice.
And so about 4 years ago, I decided to do my first show, and I fell in love with it. I won my first overall show in Dallas, and then turned pro about a year and a half later. I won the overall at Universe, which was in New Jersey. And then I won my first pro show last year, which was the Dallas Europa. I'm a classic physique competitor. So, the thing I love about the sport is that discipline in bodybuilding, you can translate it into business, because success is all about your daily routine and your habits and consistency. And if you can string along enough wins day after day, week after week, month after month, then you're getting somewhere, right? So I've been able to translate some of those qualities in bodybuilding to the business field with Linear, and it's definitely helped. But yeah, last year I won the Dallas Europa. I competed at the Arnold, which is Arnold Schwarzenegger's show, which I was one of 10 athletes invited in the entire world in the classic division. And then I also competed at the Olympia, which is the most coveted show in the world. So I was one of about 25 classic physique athletes in the world. So I was able to check those off the bucket list. But now that we are growing and scaling as a business with Linear, I'm not able to compete this year just because we're scaling so fast. We're in talks with a couple of capital partners at this point, and we're looking to scale across the country at a fast pace. So not going to have time to step on a bodybuilding stage anytime soon.
Well, I think it's so impressive that you were doing both. I know a lot of people that are bodybuilders, and that takes up their entire life. Mm-hmm. So you're able to do that and grow a massive business at the same time. And it sounds like do all sorts of other things. I know you have a thriving relationship and a great family life, and that's important to you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And yeah, you're making it happen. I know we got together for lunch, and you ate what you had to eat out to eat at the restaurant, even if they messed it up the first time or two. You got what you needed, and you stayed to that discipline. And I think that's so important for people listening. Of hey, you can do anything and everything. You just have to have some discipline around it. You talked about a daily routine. Would you mind sharing any sort of routines you go through in the morning and what your daily routine is?
Yeah. So daily routine in the morning on a podcast. Yeah. It's all good. I'll call you right after. So daily routine in the morning, it's all about setting my mindset up for success on the day, meaning getting in positive messaging, and that not only with myself, but with my people. I mean, now at this point, we have 150 project managers across the country. So, whether it be looking up YouTubes, watching videos, whether I'm eating breakfast, I'm always trying to start my day with some sort of positive messaging, because attitude matters. Everything starts in the mind. I mean, people are like, oh, it's physical. No, before the physical happens, I have to be right mentally. So I'm always starting my day with some sort of positivity, whether it be videos, messaging, reading a book, excerpt, and I'm sharing whatever I'm putting into myself with my people, right? Every day, but before I walk into that day, I would have already done my priority list the night before. So before I close my eyes to go to sleep, I need to make sure that I go into my notes in my phone is where I keep all my priorities. And I got to say, okay, what's the priorities that need to get done tomorrow? And I need to list them. And maybe some days it might be 20 things I need to get done the next day. But at the end of every day, I need to be able to look at that list, and I need to be able to put a check mark off on those priorities to know, how did I do with today's game? I think too many people go through day in, day out, and they don't assess, did I win the day? You got to be able to look yourself in the mirror on that day and say, was I successful? Did I get the job done? Right. So that's part of my routine, is making sure that you have a plan. Right. And even for my leaders, it's like, you shouldn't only have a plan for the next day, but you should have a 3-day forecast plan. What is 2 days out? What is 3 days out? And you should keep filling up your schedule, because a lot of people look at the clock and they think, oh, I'm working 8-9 hours a day. I must be busy. I'm working. I'm punching my hours. The hours don't really matter. It's the results that you're turning. So I got to make sure that I'm turning results every single day. That will add up to the big picture. And that's why, as a company, we've doubled our business every year we've been in business.
Wow, that's awesome. And yeah, I think for myself too, I know I can go through a whole day and say, wow, I was so busy, but what did I get done? Yeah, because I'm not managing my priorities. I'm not making sure I'm doing the things that need to get done to move the business forward. That's really important. You talked about you were on a TV show called No Demo Reno. How did that come about? What specifically, you said you painted, you did a lot of stuff. What specifically did you do on that show?
Yeah, man, that show was fun. I mean, it was one of because like I mentioned, I loved theater. I used to do a bunch of our one-act plays growing up. My sophomore year, I won Best Actor in the district. Like, I loved acting. I love Denzel. I love Will Smith, right? So I was able to kind of tap into that. And so No Demo Reno, happened, the concept is basically being able to give your home a brand new look, a brand new feel without demoing a ton of walls and having to go get a bunch of permits. Like, keep it really within a good budget, but change the feel of your home. And that's what we were doing. Jennifer Todrick, the star of the show, they call her the rambling redhead. She's got a big influence on Instagram. She's awesome. She's very witty, very funny. I ended up getting her project because I was doing a bunch of work in the area, the city of Fairview. Ended up doing one of her best friend's home. I got recommended to her. I ended up inspecting the roof, right? She was actually looking to do the roof and do her painting and do all these things, but pay for it out of pocket, right? And I met her at her house, and I was like, well, Jennifer, we've had a couple of hailstorms come through in this area. I said, I tell you what, let me inspect the property. And if you have damage, I mean, really, you're paying insurance every month. They should kick in and pay for this. I mean, a lot of homeowners don't realize, one, we got to make our insurance payments every month. But secondly, we need to report damage once we're aware of that damage. And third, we need to mitigate that damage. So when I was able to do an inspection, we're Hague Engineer certified, meaning we've done tests with the actual adjusters to be able to determine what is and isn't hail damage, which most companies aren't Hague certified, right? So this is testing that the adjusters need to take. We've taken it. So I do the inspection. I show her, you have damage. I get the insurance company out, and we got everything bought. I was able to get her roof approved through insurance, got her gutters replaced and upgraded, her garage door, painted her entire home. She was wowed. And I wowed her and her husband so much by how we explained the process and coached her through what could be a complicated process. We made it so seamless. She then, after the project, says, oh, by the way, I'm actually pitching for a show and I need a GC on the show. So long story short, we ended up going through a stringent interview process, and we beat out a bunch of other roofing companies and GCs. And I was on a couple of episodes as No Demo Reno launched. And as you see, I'm only on the first 3 or 4 episodes because I actually got COVID. A lot of people don't know this. Yeah, people were reaching out to me across the whole country because me and Jennifer had a great thing going on. We really were lighting it up on camera. We had a great relationship. You'll see that on the first 3 episodes. And I got COVID and I couldn't this was when COVID just hit, right? This is the first summer of it. So everyone was a little afraid, and I couldn't get a negative test for 3 weeks. I just couldn't. And I had to go compete in my pro debut on a plane. And the network just didn't want me to get on a plane at that time. And I was also running linear, which I had to go to meetings and run training. So we decided to part ways. But to answer your question, what do we do on the show? I was on the show getting filmed, interacting as the GC with the customers, doing plans, and overseeing the project for Jennifer. And then we had some of our guys on the back end doing some of the work on the first couple of projects. I mean, that first project, if you could look it up on Amazon Prime, the first episode, we did about a $50,000, $60,000 remodel. And oh my God, it was beautiful. We did the roof, we did the interior, but the makeover was amazing. So that's the type of service we deliver. We could do it all. We're a GC company, but we specialize in dealing with insurance. And that's why we have a lot of relationships with realtors and realty companies. I mean, I know some of the biggest players in EXP, some members that are sitting on the board that know my parents very well in Puerto Rico. My parents live in an area called Palmas del Mar, Humacao. Awesome. So there's a lot of big real estate investors, a lot of digital marketers, a lot of guys in the online space with podcasts as well that are in Puerto Rico because of that tax law that came through. So yeah, very heavily involved with realtors. Because as you know, if you guys get flagged on a project and they have damage, you want a professional company to come out there, do a proper inspection. And if they have damage, get insurance involved and get that roof replaced immediately. You don't want time being wasted, and you want your customers being treated professionally. So that's what we bring to the table.
Okay. Yeah. And I think that's a good segue too. So my first real estate investment, I looked out and I woke up one morning to hail smashing into the side of the place. And I got all the siding replaced because of it. So could you take our listeners through the process and what happens? Maybe, and you mentioned earlier, maybe they don't know that they've had hail damage, but why would somebody call a company like Linear? And what does that cost? And what does it give to them?
Hey guys, this is Jordan Moorhead here, and I wanted to ask if you could do a huge favor for me. If you could go leave a review for this podcast wherever you're listening to it, that would really help me get this into the hands of other people that are interested in information about Austin real estate investing, and I'd be able to help more people. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, so a lot of times when these catastrophic storms come through, these hailstorms in Texas, because we get so many. I mean, Austin got hit pretty bad last year. There was a lot of homeowners that had windshields busted. I mean, you name it. It was bad. I mean, we had 1.5 inch plus hail out there in certain areas. But, sometimes homeowners will have hail damage come through. It'll damage their cars. They can see it physically and they'll call insurance on their own. But a lot of times, 70% of homeowners don't even realize they have enough damage to warrant a full roof replacement because they're not jumping up there on the roof. Like if you see your windshield getting hit by ice, it's cracked. It's an eyesore. You see it every day that you're driving, but you don't realize on the roof it does the same thing. It actually compromises the shingle. There's actually 3 layers to a shingle, a laminate shingle, which is on most of the roofs in Austin. It's called a laminate composite shingle, and there's 3 layers: fiberglass matting, asphalt, and then you have your rock granulars. What happens is these ice balls come down, they hit these rock granulars, they press them into the asphalt. Now that asphalt is basically exposed to the sun. The rock granulars are there to protect the asphalt. Soon as those ice balls hit the rock granulars, they disperse them. Now the UV rays are hitting the asphalt, drying it, cracking it, and now you have issues. Now you have water that's getting through the asphalt, going right through the fiberglass, which is like paper, and now you have leaks all over the roof. So it's not a matter of if, a lot of times after these storms, it's a matter of when. A homeowner is going to have leaks. Just because they don't have it now, they're probably going to occur a year or 2 years later. So that's why we come into play, because we understand this, and we understand insurance companies, they would rather pay for it before there's water pouring into a homeowner's home and they have wood floors being damaged, electronics being damaged, drywall being damaged. Like, we understand they want to be proactive rather than reactive because they actually want to save money.
Yeah.
So we get involved on the front end. We know what to look for. If there's a certain amount of hits on 2 or more slopes, most insurance companies are going to buy the whole roof. They're not going to pay for a partial. We're going to get them to pay for it all. And if that hail hit the roof, odds are it hits something else, right? It doesn't just hit the roof and nothing else. It hits gutters. It hits garage doors. It hits paint trim, you name it, light fixtures, anything that was touched. A homeowner is, they should be put back to pre-storm conditions because they're paying insurance every month. They've already technically paid for the roof, right? So that's where we get involved. We either get out there when a storm happens and we meet homeowners, we get into neighborhoods that we know catastrophic damage has happened, and we coach homeowners through that process, or they reach out to us directly. But the name of the game is making the process as simple as possible. Back in the day, insurance companies would want homeowners to go get 5, 6, 7 bids, right? Now, the industry's trying to clean it up to where we just use a software called Xactimate, which is almost like the umpire, the middleman, to determine the price points for everything that could be damaged. So we're not coming to a homeowner and saying, oh, your roof's going to cost $1 million, right? Insurance isn't coming and saying, oh, your roof's only going to cost $500. Like, we don't actually make the prices anymore. It's this middleman called Xactimate and this software company. So we actually have our own team in-house of ex-adjusters, 17 plus to be exact, who are trained on Xactimate, who actually deal and go back and forth with the insurance company. Many roofing companies don't have that. So we have inside basically ex-adjusters that will help homeowners raise their claim. The name of the game is making sure nothing is missed. Like we want to make sure if a homeowner's filing a claim, and let's say they're filing a claim once every 10, 15 years, they need to make sure they get everything accounted for. So that's what separates us. That's what we are the best at, is making sure nothing is missed and making sure we coach homeowners through this process seamlessly.
Yeah, I love it. And I've seen so many people get roofs replaced and get siding, windows, all sorts of stuff. So what does it cost somebody to call you and have somebody come out and inspect and see if there is hail damage?
That's a good question, because they don't cost nothing. You know, it's complimentary, and there's value there, because even if you don't have damage, we're going to let you know you don't have damage. You're going to get a report, and at least you're going to have the peace of mind that your family or your business, right? Because we do a lot of commercial as well. We do a lot of multifamily, low slope as well. And if their business is okay, at least they know it's okay, at least till the next storm, right? And if it's damaged, we're going to give them an honest assessment so they know we feel they have a good shot getting this replaced by insurance. So it doesn't cost them anything in terms to get us out and take a look. The only thing that costs a homeowner or a business owner is their deductible. And the deductible was chosen by them. That's what's beautiful. We didn't choose it, right? When they picked their policy, they chose either a flat rate, a 1%, 2%, et cetera, type of deductible. But a lot of times we're getting someone a $30,000 roof, or in commercial for that matter, $1 million roof for a simple deductible, which most homeowners deductibles in Austin are about 1%, 1% of the value of the home if it was to burn to the ground. So, you know, a $500,000 home would be a $5K deductible, but that might be $5K for $40,000 worth of work. And if they were going to sell that home with you and it had damage, that would go off of their sale.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that brings up another good point, too. So when we do home inspections, when somebody's buying a home inspector won't comment on the exact condition of things like roofs. So do you recommend that people call you and the home inspector says, hey, the roof looks a little beat up. You should go talk to a roofing expert? Should somebody call Linear?
Absolutely, because that's value into your home. I mean, if you're selling your home and you can get a brand new roof before you go sell it, that's added value into your sale.
And as the buyer too, a lot of my experience is that as the buyer, you come in and say, hey, this roof has hail damage. It's trashed. Mr. Seller, go with this company Linear. They'll get it replaced for you for just your deductible, because I need this roof replaced if I'm going to buy this house.
Exactly.
So
you want a fresh slate. You want a clean slate. So the buyer wants a brand new roof, because when they go and set up their insurance, and here's another thing about the industry, a lot of homeowners are like, well, is it going to raise my premiums, right? Is it going to raise my monthly rate? And that's completely false, because from the insurance company's standpoint, any hail damage is considered an act of God. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if you get into a car wreck and it's your fault, they can raise your rates, but they can't actually raise your rates for filing a claim on an act of God that it wasn't your fault. Sure. It actually is the opposite. If you actually get a new roof, you file a claim and you have damage and you replace it, you can actually lower your premiums, because now you get a new roof discount a lot of times. So it's like there's so many benefits when I'm able to explain this to a homeowner. Like if they have damage, it doesn't even make sense not to get insurance to pay for it, because they've already paid for it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, as a buyer, you're saying, hey, I can't buy this house unless you put a new roof on it. When you can go to the seller and say, hey, these guys came by, they saw hail damage. That new roof isn't going to cost you 20 grand, 30 grand. It's going to cost you your deductible. That can be a huge bargaining tool as a buyer of a home.
And the buyer, I've had buyers say, I'll cover the deductible.
Yeah.
I'll pay the deductible, just put a new roof on. And now they're buying the home. So they don't mind paying $5K of the deductible if they're getting a $30,000 roof from their roofer.
Or, as a buyer, because we're putting a small amount down to buy a large house, well, you can raise the price by $5,000. If you're putting 20% down, it's only $1,000. So, you can really work this to make it work well for you and the seller.
Yes.
Everybody involved.
100%. 100%.
That's awesome. All right, Tony. So you've obviously accomplished so much in your life. You're an IFBB pro. You run one of the biggest roofing companies in the country, it sounds like. You guys are growing like crazy. What's next for you? What are your long-term goals and what's your vision for the future?
Yeah, so good question. I mean, we've doubled our business every year we've been in business. And, now it's to the point where, at first when you start creating the business, it's like you're trying to grow and you're trying to create this financial freedom. And I think a lot of people focus on money early. But as we're turning the corner and we're becoming an authority figure in the industry, we're running conferences, you name it. We just got voted the elite contractor in the U.S. in the biggest storm restoration conference in the U.S., which was Win the Storm conference.
Yeah.
We got the elite contractor. So it's like, as you start moving to that level, it shifts from being about the money to just helping as many people in your company grow and win and develop and make sure that they're seeing the fruits of their labor. So the next level, I mean, now we're crossing the threshold of $100 million type of company. We're in talks with capital partners. We're looking to scale to the next level across the country. To answer that question, we're looking to go from being Texas's number one to the nation's number one. We're looking to become a national brand, right? And that means we're looking to become a $1 billion plus business, whether that means, partnering up with other roofing companies, acquiring other roofing companies. That's what we're looking to do is greenfield many locations, Kansas City, Indianapolis, Colorado, different markets that do get a lot of storms that are going to need our help. Because honestly, in a lot of these markets, you have a lot of rogue roofing companies that are still doing a lot of illegal things with the deductible, and we are doing it right. So if we can go nationwide, doing it right, treating our customers right, treating our business owners right, we look to be a $1 billion brand and really change the narrative in the industry and clean it up.
That's awesome. Those are amazing big goals. So love it when people think big like that. Tony, do you have a favorite business or mindset book you like to recommend? I know your parents really pushed the books when you were younger.
Yes. That's a great question.
Have you wanted to be part of GoBundance, the tribe of millionaires, but just haven't hit that millionaire status yet? Well, now you can, not even being a millionaire, by joining our new program, GoBundance Emerge. My name's Jamie Gruber, creator of GoBundance Emerge and member of the GoBundance community. And now you can join GoBundance.com/emerge, GoBundance.com/emerge. Use code Jordan for $100 off this 12-week goal-setting program and mastermind that'll propel you to being a whole life millionaire.
We've actually had a book that we implemented into our business. And this was 2 years into the business. In our interview process, feel free to steal this.
I will.
Anyone listening, we actually go through, they have to be screened. Then they have an interview with one of my team leaders. Then after that interview, which is the second touch point, they actually have to go get a book called The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone.
Really?
Which is just so phenomenal, because a lot of people we bring on into this business haven't done roofing before. We'd rather take someone that's green and train them up on how we do things, because we do things very different. We hashtag a lot on social media where we are not the same, and we truly try to embody that. So we want to bring in people without a bunch of bad habits, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what we're looking at as a business. We actually implemented that 10X rule. Everyone had to read that book before they actually get to me on a final interview. So they have to be able to sit with me and explain what did they take from that book in my final interview, because there's a lot of keys in that book that help someone coming into a new industry, thinking big, setting goals bigger, taking massive action, taking responsibility for everything that happens to you, dominating your sector rather than competing. Like, there's so many good things. And for the real estate game as well. I mean, I definitely recommend that book. Another book I'd recommend is called The Go-Giver, which is phenomenal. Staying in a place of giving rather than taking. It's a short read, and you could probably do it in like an hour or two. It is absolutely phenomenal. And then a spiritual book I'll share with the group that my dad actually shared with me about 5 years ago. It's my favorite book of all time. It's called The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. Tony Robbins actually talks about this book. He actually did an interview. You could look it up on YouTube. Look up Tony Robbins and Michael Singer conversation. Tony Robbins and his wife sits down with the author of this book, The Untethered Soul. They were impacted so heavily. You talk about Tony Robbins. Think about how many people he impacts. And he's like, this book impacted him and his wife, and it was life-changing for them. And it hit me before I even knew about Tony Robbins. Like, it affected my life tremendously. So it really gets you to slow things down, live in the present, almost like the book, The Power of Now. But it really gets you to sit back and live in the seat of self. It is eye-opening and it is life-changing. So 10X Rule, The Go-Giver, and The Untethered Soul. Those are the three I'd recommend.
Awesome. And for everybody listening, we'll have all those in the show notes too, so you can check out those books Tony's recommended. Tony, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you or follow you, learn more about you?
Yeah, my Instagram, I have a mixture of fitness, bodybuilding, and linear. I share a lot on there. Tony Goat, like the animal, Tony Goat _ Taveras. Remember, I'm from Grosbeck Goat, the Grosbeck Goat. So that's kind of stuck with me. So Tony Goat _ Taveras. Nice. You can look my Facebook up at Tony Taveras. And then we have linearroofing.com. We have a Facebook page for Linear, and also look up that info about the HGTV show. You could search my name, Tony Taveras, HGTV, and you'll come up with No Demo Reno, and that's on Amazon Prime. You could rent the first season. We're on there.
Awesome. That's amazing. All right. Last question here, Tony, and everybody go follow Tony on Instagram, Tony Goat _ Taveras. And again, we'll have all of this info in the show notes for everybody.
And my cell, you could always reach me directly, 813-833-5378. If any realtors out there want to have a lunch, want to sit down, want to talk about servicing your business, need help with anything, just reach out to me and we can line it up.
Love it. That's awesome. All right. Leading to our last question here. What is your favorite restaurant in Austin?
Man, favorite restaurant in Austin, I'd have to say, haven't been to too many, but I did take the group to a Champions dinner once over by the Domain. It was a place called Estancia. I'm a big bodybuilder, so I like Brazilian steakhouses. I like the places where you could turn the card over green and just eat.
Yeah.
So Estancia was a really good one. Brazilian steakhouse up there. And then also Vince Young Steakhouse. Reason why I say that, when we first launched the Austin market, I actually had a dinner there with some of my guys, and Vince Young was actually there celebrating his birthday. So I met Vince Young there and saw him over at one of his tables. So I'd recommend those two.
That's awesome. I've actually not been to either of those.
Okay.
Which is a rarity for having guests on the podcast here, because that's a question we ask every time. Always been to the restaurants they recommend. So I'll have to check those two out.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you for having me today. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on here, Tony. And again, anybody wants to find Tony, it's Tony Goat _ Taveras, Linear Roofing, anywhere you're going to look, and 813-833-5378.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Tony. You have a great day.
You too.
Bye.